It's unsurprising that wherever transgenderism goes, pain, confusion, and chaos follow. This is to be expected from a religious movement which rejects the God of order, life, and peace. And the latest from Boston, Massachusetts is no exception. On June 17th, firefighters and first responders arrived at a South Boston apartment in response to a potential case of cardiac arrest. What they saw upon arrival shocked them, and rightly so. This from the Boston Herald, quote, 4 children living in squalid conditions while being hidden from first responders were found in an apartment filled with alcohol, drugs, sex toys, and a dead man, according to an incident report and outraged officials. This is sickening, said at-large City Councilor Michael Flattery. I was informed by people at the scene that there were drugs, alcohol, sex toys all around the apartment, as well as a dead body on the floor. What's more, the adults were described as appearing to be male, our first hint that the transgender cancer was involved in this ordeal. Now, according to the incident report, children ranged from ages 5 to 10, and all 4 were taken by the Department of Children and Families in Boston. Now, sources told the Boston Herald that some of the adults were dressed as women when first responders arrived, a detail which jives with the fire department's report, which stated that approximately 6 adults who appeared to be males were seen in the apartment. So, males dressed as women, apparently. Again, from the Boston Herald, the victim was described in the police report provided to the Herald as a 28-year-old male to female transgender person. But the report doesn't go into much detail about the death investigation. Now, the mother of 2 of the children said this. She said, they saw several transgender people who are my friends, and one dead on the floor from cardiac arrest. They just assumed the worst. Assume the worst. There's not much assuming needed here. You placed your children under the care of perverts and creeps, and you are a woman who apparently keeps company with the reprobate and walks in the counsel of the wicked. And sex toys and dead bodies go hand in hand with their movement. Now, the firefighters who responded, as mentioned, reported a vile environment of sex toys and squalor. City Councilor Aaron Murphy told NBC 10 Boston that, quote, there was hoarding, a lot of uncleanliness in the apartment, lots of sex toys and drug paraphernalia all over the place. Now, this is what one would expect from a movement focused on breaking free from all bonds of Christian morality and sanity. The Bible says, let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterous. The trans movement, however, can only defile and destroy. And our prayers should indeed go out to these children who are being abused by the trans idolaters. But the story gets more disturbing, if not for the conditions of the apartment, but because of the attempt to change the narrative. Now, the police arrived on scene later, and it appears that they are now doing PR work for the transgender movement. Even though the children were in fact removed from the custody of their parents, the police are trying to do some damage control here. Now, remember what the fire department said about the sex toys and the uncooperative people appearing to be males? Well, apparently that isn't what you need to know. Listen to this statement from the Boston police. The adults on scene, who told officers they had called for help when they became aware their friend was not breathing, were fully cooperative with the Boston police officers who responded. There were 4 children on site who all had a parent present in the residence. The parents and the officers who responded felt it was best for the children to stay in another room with one of the parents and took steps to avoid having the children see the deceased. Due to the nature of the call and to ensure appropriate follow-up with the families involved, officers did file a 51A with DFC. Information that drugs and other concerning materials were strewn about the home is not supported by what officers encountered or by the information received on scene. In other words, nothing to see here, folks. Move along. The adults were cooperative. There's no drugs. There's no sex toys. And we were just keeping the children from seeing a dead body. Of course, we have 2 options here. 1, the first responders are liars. Or 2, the trans wackos tidied up before the police arrived. In fact, the president of Boston Firefighters Local 718, a man named Sam Dillon, is defending the account of the firefighters, saying their initial report is 100% accurate. Dillon said this to the Boston Herald: "Firefighters were there ahead of police. Situations change minute to minute, hour to hour. What they encountered would have been different than what the police encountered when they arrived." And of course, Dillon's account seems to be the most plausible. The trannies realized they were in a bind and tried to save face. Sadly, we can expect this to be swept under the rug by trans allies in Boston, another inconvenient revelation of the fruit of the transgender movement. But unless Americans wake up and reject transgenderism, we can expect more and more of these incidents to occur and more children to be abused or even hacked up in the name of the transgender religion. Yes, child abuse can happen anywhere, but it is part and parcel with the transgender movement. The problem is that we are being told, for instance, that it is not child abuse to give a 13-year-old girl testosterone and then slice off her breasts at the age of 15, as happened with Chloe Cole in California. And we are being told that it is actually evil to protect the teenage girl from such butchery. The prophet Isaiah warned of this when he said, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil." This perversion, on full display in Boston, is at the heart of the LGBTQ plus movement. And if we care about children and the future of our society, we will oppose it tooth and nail.